Here's the deal, y'all. It's loud outside. There's a lot happening. We have been 3 weeks in Tonga. We lost all internet. So today's episode is what was supposed to be last masterclass Mondays. So today is Monday, in fact, October 16th. So if you're hearing it after this, then we're back to our regularly scheduled program. But for today, I'm going to give you the replay from today's masterclass. We have a visualization in there. You know I've got my rant magic, all the things. Can't wait for you to check it out. Let's get into the episode.
Whether you're a life coach, therapist, biohacker, invested in wellness, or in the healthcare profession, if you have an intention to work in psychedelic spaces, you're in the right place then. If you're called, get involved. But first, get informed. Let's talk the 4 N's: intake, intention, in-space integration, leading to deeper transformations. Psychedelic Coach Podcast, Todd Cole. Walk you through the process, it's all possible. Leave space for the follow through. Most importantly, integration is not optional.
We're doing a different class every single Monday. Today is a redo from last week. Last week, we were in Tonga and we had no internet. So we couldn't even tell you that the class wasn't happening last week because of that. So we're going to get to it today. Today's class is all about what do you do when you're changing, but your environment isn't. So check it out. Our goal with these master classes every single week is to help take some of these concepts we hear spoken about a lot in the psychedelic space, in the transformational space at large, and put it into actionable steps that can impact your life starting right now. We hear a lot about integration, the Condor approach. What we do is all about integration. And so what we're doing is actually teaching you how to integrate, how to take action on these big realizations and make it happen. So today's class, when you're changing, but your environment isn't, we're going to explore strategies for personal growth and overcoming obstacles in a stagnant environment. All that really means is how do you stay in an environment that isn't changing with you? A lot of people think it's cut and run. That's not the case, y'all. So it's really important that you remember not every answer is leave the environment, and not every answer is to stay. So that's what we're going to really chunk into a little bit more today. So for any of you that don't know, my name is Cole Whitty, co-founder of the Condor Approach and the Psychedelic Coach podcast. These masterclass Mondays are presented by the Condor Approach. So that's where we are teaching all about psychedelic integration specifically, but how integration at large is missing from all of our lives. So this is the easiest way I can think to break down today's concept. Just like a tree, you have to know how to bend, where and in what ways, and what will cause you to break. We can't only be overly flexible or we break, but we can't stay rigid like steel, or else there's no resiliency, there's no life. So to get the most out of today's class, I want you to find a quiet space if possible and really focus for this next 30 minutes. I recommend a pen and paper to take notes. At the end, I'm also going to have a visualization exercise that I'll make sure to send out to all of you so you can access that anytime. And if you're unable to fully engage now, you can always join our monthly membership to access the replays and all the other classes. So not only would you have today's replay, you'd have every future class. You'd be able to see what's coming up and prioritize it, or visit the recordings anytime. Just let Ta know in the chat if you want the information for the monthly membership. It's $25. You get all the classes, all the notes, all in one place. So, setting the stage. It is not the strongest that survive the longest. Write that down. It's not the strongest that survive the longest. It's the most adaptive. So understanding the importance of adapting in your environment is crucial, especially in an environment that may not always support change. So we're going to talk about one thing you do have some sense of control over. Can you guess what it is? It's you, fam. So you are the one thing that you have control over. And we can argue in psychedelic spaces, no one has total control. You do have the ability to control your response to situations. Today, we're going to tell you how. So, whose fault is it anyway? The blame game is easy to get caught up in, but is it productive? No. Is it going to help you get what you want? No. Is it going to help you get out of where you are or into where you want to go? No. So the biggest problem I see many people kind of skipping or not really leaning into is time. If you are feeling the feelings, only you can do something about it. So don't try to skip the discomfort of right now because it's going to keep you from getting what you want. What I mean by that is people don't like to feel confrontational experiences in their body. They don't like to feel the shame or guilt or facing someone that they felt may have harmed them. So they skip this momentary discomfort for prolonged discomfort in the life that they don't want, the relationship that they don't want. So most people won't get what they want because they trade instant gratification for long-term fulfillment. Give me a 1 if you have done that before. You have traded and gotten an instant relief by leaving the room, leaving the relationship, leaving the job, but the long-term fulfillment wasn't there. It didn't actually give you what you wanted because no matter where you run, that's where you are. Give me a 1 in the chat if you've ever done that and you can see in retrospect that there was some aspect of you that also needed to be shifted, changed, elevated. So we're going to discuss strategies for taking ownership, learning from past mistakes, working together with your environment to achieve your goals. So first thing you have to do is get clear in what you want in any situation. We call this an intention. I'm going to dive a little bit deeper to it in a minute, but in essence, what I'm talking about is intention is what do you want to know? What will you need to do? Who will you need to be? Or what will you need to understand to actualize the ideal outcome? We say, what do you want to know, do, be, or understand? If you are in a relationship and you have a big realization in a psychedelic journey that it's not the kind of relationship you want, what do you want to know? What will you need to do? Who will you have to be? Or what will you need to understand? If you would like this person to grow with you, ask these questions to yourself for the ideal outcome of your intention. What do you want? So many people are abrupt to take a quick reactive response based off their past, but then they're getting in the way of the future they want, right? So I want you to take a sheet of paper, or you can open your apps, your apps, yes, but then open your notes. And I want you to write down the side of the page, STATE. That spells state. Now let's talk about the power of your state. This is how we assess where you are and your thoughts about the situation you might be in. This is all going to come full circle at the end. For my Condor coaches, you know this concept, and it's never too much to revisit it because it's actually very complex. We're doing a simplification. So the power of your state, STATE. State stands for situation, thought, actions. I want that to be actions with an S, triangle, and emotion. So we're going to explore how to understand these components so that you have a greater self-awareness. This is how to reflect back your life, your experience, and the results you're getting because of what you're doing or not doing in your life. So situation. This is the event or circumstance you find yourself in. It could be a challenge at work, a disagreement with a loved one, or any situation that provokes a response from you. The situation is what's happening without any thoughts or feelings. So I'll give you an example here in a little bit. The situation is facts, not your thoughts, not your projection, not your opinion, and not your feeling. The thought is what is your dominant thought about the situation? What are you telling yourself? It could be, I can't handle this. They don't love me. I'm not worthy. I'll never be enough. It could be, I can't get a raise. I won't get a raise. These are thoughts, dominant thought. Action. These are the actions you take as a result of that dominant thought. So when I'm in a situation, I have a thought about that situation. That thought makes me do or not do certain things. Actions. If you can mute your mics as you come in. So actions are the direct result of that thought about the situation. So I'm working my way down. Then we go to the T triangle. Are you the victim, the villain, or the victor? You might be familiar with the drama triangle. We have an adaptation we call the oppression trap triangle. We'll cover that in another class. The simple kind of top level of that is victim, villain, victor. Where are you in the triangle? Do you feel wronged or overwhelmed? Are you blaming others or acting out? Or maybe you're taking responsibility or you're trying to rescue someone else. And then we've got the emotion. That dominant one emotion when you look at all this information. So here's how you tie it all together. The state assessment is a snapshot of your current state. It helps you pinpoint the strategies or coping mechanisms you're using, consciously or not. All of the stuff you do or don't do is what keeps you stuck in that state, right? Stay with me because I'm going to bring it all back around. This assessment is the gateway to deeper work to help you break free from unhelpful patterns and get lasting change. So it's going to help you get valuable insights into your behavior. And I forgot my pen. Perfect. So I'm going to riff this a little bit and see if I can maintain it off the top of my head. I have high hopes for myself. I have the intention. So STATE, I want you to look at your paper, STATE. Write down a recent situation. I'm going to make one up to give you an example. So one might be, my situation is, I'm going to give the story. I might have the story that Ta's not home and he left without saying anything and he abandoned me and I don't know where he is and he always does this. And when he does this, I get really angry and I feel abandoned, right? This is all the story that I have. The situation is Ta is not here. Not he left me. That's my opinion. That's my thought. My situation is Ta is not here. That would be the fact. The fact is, in this room, Ta's not here. That's the only fact. My thought might be Ta left me. Ta doesn't love me. Something like that is my thought. Now, when I have the thought, Ta left me and he isn't here, what do I do? Or what don't I do with that thought? I might say, well, when I think that Ta left me, then I'm not going to do the dishes. He can do the dishes because he left me. He's not considerate, right? So I don't send a sweet text message. I don't send him a kissy face emoji that he's not here and I miss him. That is things that I'm doing because I think Ta left me. If my thought was Ta left to go get us food, I'd be like, I love Ta. Ta went to go get us food. I'm going to send him kissy emojis. I'm going to clean the kitchen so there's no dishes when he gets home, right? So our thought determines our actions. Our thought about the situation determines what we do or don't do. Or if you're building a business, your situation might be, I'm building a business. I'm a yoga instructor. Those are facts. My thought might be, I'm not experienced enough. And when I have the thought, I don't have enough experience in being a yoga teacher, my actions might be, I don't share online. I don't invite people to my classes, right? I don't share about my offer. Those are my actions. I'm not learning how to build a business because I'm afraid I don't know enough, right? So our thought about our situation determines our actions, what we do or don't do. Then if I go down to the triangle, am I a victim? Am I the villain? Am I the victor? So staying with, say, the example of being a yoga teacher. So if I'm a victim, I might feel like my lack of experience is why I'm not good enough. I'm a victim of my lack of experience, not from someone. Being a victim, villain, or a victor doesn't have to be a person. It can be, I don't have enough money, so I feel like a victim to the financial system because I don't have enough. So it's the financial system's fault. I'm a victim of it, right? If I'm the villain, I become the villain of my business because I'm making it where I'm not building my business. I'm in the way of my business. I could be the victim and the villain of building what I want in life. Or I could be the victor. I'm trying to rescue myself from a crappy job by becoming a yoga instructor to do something more in alignment with who I want to be, right? Moving on to emotion. What is the dominant emotion that arises from this state? So when you look at it, at the situation, I like to go in sequence, but you can also just connect that 2 and that 5, the thought and the emotion. When I have the thought, I'm not experienced enough for ... How does that make you feel? It is your thoughts that create your emotions, my darlings. It is what you think about your situation that makes you feel. But you can't only change the thought. And this is what I see in NLP and some other methodologies of where I think that people are missing a piece. They're trying to change the thought, but they're not changing their actions. These actions, what you do and don't do, are what create the result of the state you're in. So you can't only change your thought. You have to change your actions, what you're doing or not doing to support the new thought you want to have. If you have the thought, I am so excited to be a fresh new yoga instructor to serve the people now, what will that lead you to do? Your actions will support the thought. The thought changing alone is a bypassing. And then you are a prisoner to willpower. Once willpower fades, so do the actions, and there is no change. So by using this tool, it's going to help you align with your intention. Remember, intention is what do I want to know, do, be, or understand? Is what you're doing or not doing aligned with your intention? My entire life changed when I stopped calling things right or wrong, whether it was what I was eating or the people I was with. I looked at it as, is this putting me in alignment with my intention, or is it taking me further away from my intention? How far, if it is taking me away, and am I okay with that? Acceptance, radical self-responsibility, radical self-honesty. There is nothing wrong with choosing to participate in something that might not be ideal. But if you'll pause to look at the impact, if you'll pause to look at what's the cost? Just like you do with money. You look at some items and say that is worth the money. And you look at other items and say that's not worth the money. Look at it with your intentions as well. Does this relationship, this friendship, this food, this decision take me further from my intention or move me towards it? Can I accept that? And move on. If you will stay radically honest with yourself and present, it is far less likely you're going to go so far away from who you want to be, or who you saw in a journey, or who you are looking to become, or you are in process of becoming. So get clear on your thoughts about your situation, look at the outcome that you want, and then start setting the stage for that. Especially after a psychedelic experience or a transformational, it could be breath work. It could have been a divorce, the birth of a child. These are transformational experiences. If you look at the outcome you want, you can start to set the stage for it, reverse engineer it, maybe get more honest with the timeline you keep putting on it. So it isn't only what you start doing after a big transformation, it's also what you need to stop doing. And how you do it matters. So, triggered. Put a 1 in the chat if you have been triggered in the last 24 hours. If you're like last, or in this, we'll say this solar eclipse, new moon situation happening. I hear a lot of people say the term triggered. Even with the term triggered, I stopped using it except for when I actually went into a fight, flight, or freeze response. Typically when I'm triggered, I can't say it. I'm just feeling feelings. Don't let feeling your feelings become the reality of a trigger. It's learning how to be and hold space for your feelings and still stay in the room. So I'm going to talk about one way that I love to do that. I'm going to do a little visualization exercise at the end. I will send that out to all of you so that you can have it. I'll just put it on SoundCloud or something. The idea of being triggered means it's sending you into an old response. That's how I'm going to explain it today. You get triggered and it's like it pushes the eject button from the place you want to be and sends you off to wherever. So the beautiful thing is when you start to expand your ability to not feel all the good feelings, but actually stay rooted with all of the feelings. And you grow. You don't get more, or I would say you don't get less struggle. You increase your ability to hold space for all of it, where you can actually be in peril and sadness and joy. It's just you can hold both at the same time. It's that you actually have become strong enough to have a container for all of it. And for me, that's freedom. Freedom is the ability to feel it all and not have it push the eject button and send you off into some other place you don't want to be, or that isn't in alignment with where you want to be. So, will we always know what's causing a trigger? This is another thing that I see people gets them really, really stuck in creating what they want. They're trying to figure out the root cause. Stop. Stop doing that. Digging, shadow work just for the purpose of shadow work, because on some level you think you have to dig or do shadow work in order to deserve the light or to be out in the light or whatever that means for you. Completely ineffective. Unless you know what you're digging for, you're just digging a big hole. And a big hole doesn't do anything. Now you might say, I want to dig a pool, right? So I'm digging for something. What is your intention? What do you want to know, do, be, or understand when you dig, when you're doing shadow work? Because if you want more joy, more excitement in your life, why would you keep digging into suffering? That doesn't make any sense. You would actually want to do the other things because that's what you want. So stop focusing on what you don't want, thinking that's going to get you to a point of what you do. Yes? So effective trigger management. Do we manage a trigger, or do we learn to manage our reactions? Can we? The answer is yes. It's learning how to track your nervous system. It's knowing how to pause and take a breath, how to communicate to the environment that you need to pause and take a breath. This is where you start to increase your capacity. You're able to you build and strengthen your emotional muscles and your ability to sit in uncomfortable. Most people are running from uncomfortable and diving deeper into suffering. Makes no sense. So, the first step, when you notice you're starting to get a little crunchy, or you notice that initial kind of action step, we'll call it triggered for simplicity. First thing is to stop and take a pee-pee. Pause and pull back. Literally pause. The second you feel it, when you first start getting into something as simple as the 3 Ps, pause, pull back, and take a physical scan. You might not notice it till after the encounter initially. When you storm out of the room, you go sit in your car and you pause for a second. You take a bird's eye view and pull back from the situation. You look at the full thing. You're like, wow, I was reactive. I'm tired. I didn't eat. Where I am in my cycle makes me a little more emotional today. When you pull back from the situation and take a physical scan, you get more of a truth of where you are outside of the situation. That first step, the pause, if you only learn to pause, pull back, and take a physical scan, you can see where you are in reference to your intention. What do you want? And in that pause, pull back, as you physical scan, where is it showing up in your body? Is it a tightness in your chest? Maybe it's your legs are restless because you want to run. Maybe it's you feel your throat or you get flushed. When you physical scan, you'll start to learn your body in such a way that your body is giving you cues long before you even know what's happening. Now, for me, I recognize when I'm starting to get activated, it starts in my lower belly, or it starts right here in my throat, starts to tighten. For me to not speak, it's a shutdown. I'm reaching a threshold. If you'll look at your body, at your nervous system and your reactions, is there's different levels. Can you see it at level 1? Can you perceive it? So that before you get to a point where you can't think clearly or you become reactive, you can tell the person, I need to pause and pull back for a second. Sometimes that's physically taking a step back also. Sometimes that's, I'm going to leave the room for 5 minutes and just breathe. For Ta and I, the most powerful thing we brought into play in our relationship was pause, pull back, and take a physical scan. You don't make these agreements when you're activated. You make these agreements when things are calm. And you express to someone, to your environment, to someone you love, to whoever, I want to do things different than we've been doing it. And I want to be able to stay in the room. So if I start to feel I'm getting activated, I'm going to ask if we can pause. And I'm going to take 3 steps backwards. For me, I like to say a minimum of 12 feet. If you're into human design or whether you're not, by taking some physical space, that really kind of dense energy that can happen when people start to get activated starts to dissipate enough to help you think clearly. So when you first feel that activation, if you'll take a few steps backward, 12 feet, 15 feet, close your eyes, think of your intention. Who do I want to be in this dynamic? What do I need to know? What do I need to do? What do I need to understand right now in this moment to be who I believe myself to be, who I want to be, who I'm developing to be? And in that physical scan, I can notice where it is in my system. If it's tight in my chest, what's up with my heart, my connection? If I'm feeling it more in my throat, am I feeling not heard? Am I not feeling considered? If it's a pit in my stomach, am I feeling disempowered or not trusting myself? Those are my meanings. Those might not be yours. When we do our live events, whether the Condor Approach or this not couples, it's a relationship retreat or one-day event in Austin, we're going to teach these specifically because y'all, the thing is something so simple as the pause and pull back before you go the old way. It's the fork in the road. It's the potential. It's the possibility of something else, whether it's with your kids, your job, relationship, friendship, all these dynamics. We reach a fork in the road when we can pause and pull back. Teach this to your kids before we keep going down the road that we know doesn't lead to where we want to go. So why do old habits stick around? How come after a big realization or a big transformation, we go towards the old way after a month, after 6 weeks? Give me a 1 in the chat if you've had a big psychedelic experience or transformational experience, and then 3 weeks, 6 weeks, 90 days later, you end up going back to the old way. Then you get hard on yourself. Then you shame yourself. I shouldn't be doing this. I know better. Why do I keep doing this, right? So many of you, me too, too. We don't ever want you to think that we are outside of all these, but we've now created so many nets and we call it what happens when. We have a manual for how we relate to each other, not our relationship, how we relate, who we want to be. We first get clear in our own intentions so that as we take actions, we can see, is this in alignment? And then how can I support Ta being who he wants to be? How can Ta support me in who I want to be? Same with my friendships. Same with my business relationships. So step 1 is understanding the cycle. That state assessment helps you recognize the patterns and strategies that keep you stuck. That after 90 days or after a couple weeks of a big transformation, why do you slide back? Usually it's because you let the old habits that are supporting the old thought. And as long as you keep doing or not doing what supports that old thought, you can't move forward. And it's as simple as saying, what do I want in my life? What is my intention? And if the situation then is, I'm a yoga teacher, and my thought is I'm a new yoga teacher and I'm still learning, and I love what I do. That's going to change the actions versus I'm not good enough, right? Or I'm not experienced enough. What are you doing or not doing? Are you the victim, the villain, or the victor? How does it make you feel when you do those actions, when you have that thought? Your thought creates your actions. Your thought creates your emotions. Your thought and your emotions will always be supported by those actions. Has anyone, give me a 1 in the chat if this is you, felt stuck, chaotic, cluttered, and so you started to clean? Because through the process of cleaning, there was some level of clearer understanding. Like you needed to literally clean the outside to help you gain clarity. That's me 100%. Or my life feels stagnant, so I need to move the furniture. I'm a reorganizer because I literally need to reorganize my external environment to have clarity for my internal environment. They say that your external environment's a reflection of your internal environment. So when I want my internal environment to shift, I change my external environment because that I can control. I can't always figure out what's happening here. But I know if this is how I feel, if this is my thoughts, and those thoughts are making me do a certain thing, then can I also do the reverse? Can I get clarity and organization in my external environment to help me have clarity in the internal? Because if the internal creates the external, then is the opposite also true? I say it is. So overcoming self-sabotage, that is those strategies, those actions. What you're doing or not doing is getting the result you're getting. Period. So the beautiful thing is once you have clarity around those actions, your situation, your thought about the situation, what you're doing or not doing, are you the victim, the villain, or the victor? How does it make you feel? What is the emotion because of that thought and actions? Then you can go, oh, well, if this gets me this result, then what do I need to do or stop doing to get the result that I want? So are you being the you that you believe yourself to be? How is what you're doing aligned with your intentions? If you believe yourself to be a kind, loving, considerate person until you get triggered, until you're hungry, until you didn't sleep enough, then you have a conditional identity. That means that when it's something else, you give your power away to external forces versus what do I need to know, do, be, or understand for this to be true about me? Radical self-responsibility, y'all. This is building new pathways. The states assessment can help you cultivate new habits, create positive neural pathways so that your big breakthroughs last, so that the outcome you want lasts. So I'm going to come back to this in a minute, this little Q&A, because I would love to give an example. But I made a little guided meditation, a little visualization to help ground this in a little bit more before I go into an example. So if you're driving, obviously don't close your eyes. Please don't close your eyes if you're driving. Even if you have a Tesla, I'm still not convinced. All right. Pull over for a second. Give yourself 5 minutes. So if you're in this space to be able to take these next few minutes, please do. This is really just to ground things in a little bit more. So take a nice deep breath. This is the Condor approach to the 3 Ps, to a state assessment. So we're going to take 3 breaths together. I like to call the energy into the space before we even continue forward. Take a nice deep breath in. Exhale. Inhale in. Exhale. Beautiful. Now this is going to be a guided visualization to help empower you to rise above challenging situations to gain a fresh perspective. So find a quiet moment, a comfortable space. You can sit or lay down. Just close your eyes. I want you to consider pause, pull back, and physical scan, the 3 Ps. In a moment when you're triggered, power begins with the pause. When you notice that you're triggered, take a deep breath. Feel the air entering your lungs, the space, and as you exhale, let go of any tension or stress. Relax your shoulders. Feel into your body. During this pause, recognize you have a choice in this moment. You can reflect from past patterns or respond in alignment with who you are growing to be. Choose to be the version of yourself that you aspire to be. Now shift your attention to your body. Where do you feel the physical sensation of this trigger? It might be in your chest, your stomach, your throat, your back. Take a moment to acknowledge the sensation without judgment. As you take the next deep breath, we go into the pause to the pull back. As we pull back, I want you to imagine being gently lifted by your shoulders. Just like a condor, you're taking flight. Feel the wind beneath your wings as you ascend higher into the sky, leaving the situation below you. From your elevated view, look down on the situation. See it spread out beneath you. like it's a landscape. Notice how it appears from this perspective. It's smaller, less overwhelming, and you can see more of the picture. Direct your attention to your intention. What do you want to achieve in this situation for yourself and for others involved? Visualize your desired outcome with clarity and conviction. While you're in this bird's eye view, take a state assessment on yourself. S, what is the situation? Observe it objectively. Be an impartial observer. What is your thought, your one dominant thought? Allow it to flow without attachment or judgment. Actions. What are you doing or not doing in this situation? Are your actions aligned with your intention and the person you want to be? Where are you in the triangle? Consider this position. Are you the victim, the villain, or the victor? Are you more than one? Are you all three? Can you shift to a more empowered role? Emotion. What is the dominant emotion connected to the thought? You have that thought. How does it make you feel? When you have that thought, what does it cause you to do or stop doing? Observe it with curiosity. List it on a sheet of paper, as many things as you can think that you do or don't do as a result of that thought, how that thought makes you feel. With the wisdom gained from this view, with clarity of your intention and a more clearer idea of what's really going on and what you want, decide on how your infinite self wants to respond. How can you align your actions with that infinite self? How can you move closer to the outcome that you want? On the next deep breath, inhale in and gently return your awareness to this present moment, feeling yourself lowered down gently and with care from the sky, carrying with you the insight, the empowerment, what you want out of this situation. Remember, in any triggering situation, the power is in the pause. The power is in the pulling back, taking a physical scan, looking at your intention. What do I need to know, do, be, or understand in this situation to truly be who I'm destined to be, who I am creating in the now? How does that future self respond now? Taking a nice deep breath. Looking around the room. Remembering who you are, who you want to be, who you're creating. I like to use the term my infinite self or my future self, because for me, even a higher self has a hierarchy, is better versus different. My infinite self, anything is possible. There is no best, because best is always changing. It's a place you never arrive to. So I'm never my best self. Technically, I'm always my best self. This is as good as it gets in this moment. And if I say, if I was my best self, I'm already kind of shooting myself in the foot in some way, versus that future self, the one that already knows, the one that's already healed from this current wounding that's showing up for me. How do they work in this moment? How does that version of me show up right now? With love, with boundaries. And I want to be very clear. My future infinite self doesn't put up with any shit either. And so someone who already knows who they are, how does that person communicate their boundaries and how do they respond? If someone's getting stank with me, if someone's getting big or loud and I'm not okay with what's happening for me, how does the version of me know that this person is also operating out of their woundings? How do I communicate it to them? How do I still speak my voice? And we'll talk about that more in other masterclasses, how to hold space for yourself first, and then how to hold space for others. That's really the premise of our event on December 2nd, is a whole day of teach it, and apply it. You're not just going to come sit. You've got to practice. These concepts you can't do just in your mind, y'all, because conceptually, your body does not adhere to concept. Your body needs practice. Your nervous system needs practice. You have to build the muscle of sitting in the discomfort, riding that point so that you don't go into a spillover or overwhelm, or when you want to run, or when you want to get loud. When me and Ta got together, I was a very loud arguer because in my relationship before, culturally, he comes from Israel. That's normal. Whether it's happy or angry or sad or elated, everything just gets louder. So I got in the habit of getting louder so that I could be heard. But that did not work for Ta. And for Ta, that was dangerous. That was an act of violence. Right? And so who I needed to become aware of was, how do I honor my anger without projecting it at Ta? Because I can't just shut down the anger, or else I'm not honoring myself. I'm not being honest with myself. Internalized anger becomes dis-ease. Internalized anger becomes stomach issues. Internalized anger becomes digestive issues. Constipation. Holding on to shit. Right? So Ta and I had to sit and have discussions. How do we welcome my anger without it being explosive or directed or penetrative or destructive? Rage is not functional for a relationship. Anger is, but you have to learn, how does the future version of me who is angry and hurt and understands that the anger is protecting hurt if you really keep going? So if my anger is protecting the hurt, what's the hurt? How do I show up for the hurt? How do I show up for myself? How do I show up for this dynamic? Because the future version of me who knows I'm operating out of hurt wants to do it differently than I've done it before. I don't ever want my anger to be penetrated into Ta. That's destructive to his physical body, to his emotional body, to his spiritual body. But how do I hold space for the anger in the present moment? Also, that takes conversation. That takes agreements so that each person knows what is my role in that dynamic so that we can get to what we do want without judgment, or recognizing that we have judgment. How do we work with that? And if anger for one person doesn't feel safe, we can't only shut down the anger, or else the person being harmed is the one that's experiencing the anger. It's not functional, not for lasting health, vitality, safety, connection, fulfillment. If you have to internalize your anger, you're not going to feel safe, because you have to you have to pull down some part of you that isn't safe to express, which means you are not safe in your emotional self. You are too much. Your anger's too much. And often in our society, we are placating to the people who can't handle anger. Think about how often someone will say, you can't say that, you're going to upset people. You're denying people the opportunity to see how they feel about something because you keep shutting it down. And the more that we keep actually shutting anger down versus understanding anger and coming up with a new way to be with anger, we weaken people's ability to feel. We weaken that emotional muscle that takes practice to build. So we actually atrophy our capacity instead of strengthen it. And then when we have all this stuff happening out in the world, our empathetic friends, our empathetic selves, those of us who feel deeply, and we see the war and the killing and the sadness and the death and the destruction, we shut down when more than ever before we have to stand up. And if we don't build these emotional bodies, if we don't build our capacity to feel and hold it all, we die this way. We need to live for what we believe in. Stop dying for it. Everyone is more willing to die for what they believe in than face the discomfort of feeling it, carrying it with you, because you can't shut down anymore. Shutting down is not an option. Not anymore. Anyone that's on this call, anyone that's here right now, you have to learn to shut it, or to carry it with you, not shut it down. All of it. And I know that it's not easy, and I know that it's got its challenges. But this is why we're going to start doing a couple times a year, a one-day event to help you to truly understand, be with. You can't learn these conceptually, y'all. I've sat here and gone through it conceptually with you. But in order to build it, you have to put yourself in the discomfort and work in it and build the muscle, just like you can't build a body without going to the gym and lifting heavy weight. You can read about how to get in shape and build muscles or whatever your goals are. You can learn how to run fast. You can read about going and running a marathon, but without training for it, you won't make it. The muscles aren't there. The injury potential is higher. Just totally went on a rant there. Such is the nature of me. Ranting is my specialty. So I'm going to bring us back to this screen for a little bit. Take a nice deep breath, y'all, because that was a lot. Inhale. Because, yeah, if you need to take a couple more in there, please do. Because I know, well, you know, that's how my anger looks now. A little more productive, a little less like smash kill, a little more, just intense, which is great. So when it comes to when you're changing and your environment isn't, there's a few things. Step one is you have to know what your intention is. If you go have a big breakthrough, you realize your relationship, your job, your friendship is not functional for you or it's not healthy. Do you want to maintain this relationship or this job? Maybe you've got kids and you can't quit your job just because you've got great insurance, and that's not an option right now. The answer is not cut and run all the time, y'all. And in ceremonies, I feel like a lot of times people do. They come out with a big realization and they just like Kali style destroy and blow everything up. That's not necessarily the answer. It might be a remodel, not a tear down of that relationship or that life. So as Baba Kalindi says, as we've always said in journeys, wait 30 days before you take any like big, massive movements. Get support, get perspective, right? Because the future version of you, the one who already knows, how does that version of you show up for this situation? How does the future version know that, okay, I'm angry, I'm hurt, I'm frustrated. I get clarity around that. How can I communicate it? Knowing that the other person or the other people involved are going to have their feelings. And if it's someone you've known for a long time, you may already know how they're going to react. So how does the future version of you that knows who you are in truth, how do they handle that conversation? Having boundaries still, having clarity, having that grounded sense of truth. So always start with your intention. What do you want to know? What will you need to do? Who will you have to be? Or what will you need to understand to get the outcome you want? And then run that state assessment. STATE, what's the situation? What's your one thought, dominant thought about the situation? What are your actions? What are you doing or not doing because of that thought? Because when you think that, you feel a way. When you feel a way, you do things. What do you do? Where are you in the triangle? Are you the victim? Are you the villain? Are you the victor? Remembering that any of those, victim, villain, or victor, is not just people. You might be a victim to your finances. You might be a victor to your finances. You might be a villain to your finances, saying, I don't have any money, but then you keep going and buying a $4 coffee every day. When what you really want to do is invest in a coaching situation, right? So you can be in multiple places at one time. But once you have clarity in that, then you know, who do I want to be versus who am I being? Because the being is in the actions. That's in the habits. And that's what everyone defaults to when they're stressed, when they're hungry, when they're cold, when they're tired. Yes? So continued personal growth, it's a lifeline. It's a lifetime situation. The beautiful thing is when you will show up for yourself, when you will show up for who you want to be, who you believe yourself to be, who you perceive yourself to be, that's freedom. Freedom is not outside of what it exists. Freedom is knowing that in spite of anything that happens, I still have the ability to choose. That my environment does not manipulate me. Freedom is that people can do what people do, and I still can get clarity to do what I feel needs to be done. what I want to do in spite of anything happening out here. Nice deep breath. So for anyone that's listening, is there anyone that is still a little uncertain about how a state assessment works? Anyone unsure? Anyone a little unclear? Just give me a 1 in the chat or raise your hand if you're still like, kind of understand what I mean. I got quite a few coaches of our Condor coaches in the chat, so I know y'all have heard this. Maybe you had another layer click in today. Maybe in the visualization, you understood it a little bit more. So here's the deal, y'all. On December 2nd, we've got this relationship one-day event. Like I mentioned earlier, you can be in a relationship with a person. It could be with your kids. It could be with your job. It could be with a friendship. We're doing this event. It's $9.97 for 2 people. So it's you and a friend, right? So if you come with a friend, these exercises are just as potent and it's going to elevate that friendship. If you bring a child, we're totally down with kids coming. I'd say over 16. Yes. And they have to be okay with adult language. Okay. But I'm not, I see how kids are functioning these days and it's not the same as it was 20, 30 years ago. A lot of kids are a part of adult conversations now. So if you feel like you've got an older child that's very mature, totally fine with that. Let's talk about it. Yes. But if you want to build that relationship with your child, so many people, their kids are their closest friend and their home dynamic. They want to be on the same page. I don't want to leave kids out of these conversations. We will ultimately have kids specific for younger kids under 14. Yeah. That's just not yet. But we know that by first elevating, expanding, growing the way you're running your relationships right now, that is the foundation for change. Not that what's happening all over the world isn't important, but I will not stand here while there's war happening all over the world and watch people war at home when they have the privileges that they have in the United States. Not to say we don't have poverty and treachery and all of that stuff here, but anyone that's coming on these calls at least has some resourcefulness, has some ability, and maybe your resource isn't money right now. That's why these classes are free. And if you want to revisit all of the classes, these are all the concepts that we teach, right? The classes are free every Monday. Invite people to come that don't have the resources, that can't afford to travel, that can't leave their kids. But know this relationship workshop will also be virtual. It is the same price virtual because in showing up virtual, we're going to have a TV for you. You will interact the same way as if you're in person. You'll just be doing it virtually. There's no recording because these are important conversations we won't be recording. There will not be a replay because, again, if you're virtual, you are just virtual for convenience, whichever convenience that might be. But it does make it more accessible. So if you want to show up with a friend and you're not in the same state, no problem. We put you in breakout rooms when you need to do the private work together in Zoom. So you don't have to be in the same location. But this is to build a core relationship. Business, kids, family, whatever type of relationship. So I'm excited for it. Ta and I are going to do a couple of these a year, 1-day workshops to really do what we've done in our relationship to continue to grow and evolve our relationship every year. Because we don't renew vows. We get married again. We have new agreements. Our intentions change, or at least they evolve. So we don't want to ever hold each other to the old edicts of who we were. If who I'm becoming is not who you want to be with, then let's cut ties. Or maybe we find out that we've just got some shifts so that we can be on the same page. We might be in the same book, but we're not in the same chapter. But once we get clarity on the chapter, what we want the outcome of our story to be, then we can rewrite where we are, get on the same page. Because ultimately, for Ta and I, what we said is our core thing is having fun together. If we're not having fun, we don't make money. If we're not having fun, nothing else works. So it's not just that we want to have fun because fun is great. It's that we have to have fun in order for things to flourish. Because when it's a one-man show for either one of us, it doesn't work. Because our intention, our desires for ourselves and each other is this relationship, is this friendship. So when we are not checking in on those intentions, when we're not staying clear, when we're not putting in that work, That's the foundation. So if we're not building everything on a solid foundation, of course it gets shaken up. Yeah. And it has been a constant practice for us to, if Ta feels angry, for it to not impact my mood, and vice versa. How do you do that? You have to build your resiliency in your nervous system. And I don't mean resiliency as in just it bounces back. I mean resiliency to stay and weather the storm without being as impacted by it, to be more like a tree. There might be a storm happening. I might be bending, but not who I am. I know where I bend, and that's more my flexibility. If Ta's in a mood, he has full support to be there. If I'm in a mood, I don't need to be changed. I need to ride my emotional waves to get to clarity of how I feel. And if anything disrupts it or I try to rush it, it's disastrous, explosive, dangerous, not a great place for anyone. Okay. But we had to make those agreements that he asks me once, is there anything I can do to support you right now? If I say no, that is his freedom to fully remove himself. Go have a great day. Okay. And if that bothers me in any kind of way, that's my work to do. I just know when I need my space, I need to process. But those are agreements we made. That we didn't guess that. This is not natural. Anybody that knows Ta, we call him Captain Save-A-Ho. Okay? Because Ta used to have to, especially with women, if they were in a hard time, he had to help. And not that it's totally gone, right? We love that. We love that kind of support. And I say we, as anyone who knows Ta, love that. So I don't ever want that to go away. I just know when I've got me. And it's important for me to never forget I got me. He's got my back. And so through this process, we've had to identify, okay, what does it look like for me to have me, for him to have my back? Means if I need anything, I will tell you. Otherwise, I got this. That changed everything. But we had to come to those agreements and then show up for them individually. A lot of people will say, well, they should know. This person should know. Ta and I said, how about no guessing? How about we remove assumption always and assume the person has no idea what I mean? So what I say is what I mean. So if I say I'm good and I'm really not, that's my problem. I have to work through that on my own. And even if he knows I said I'm good and I'm not good, he has to, what I've asked for is for him to let me deal with me and trust what I say. Because I need to do that work, whatever that means. And in the times that I say it and I didn't mean it, my problem. Cool. Nice deep breath. So we've got a couple minutes. I'll take up to 10 minutes. Anyone have any questions in how this kind of applies? Now, no, if you ask me a very long, drawn out question, I'm going to tell you, you would do well to come to the event. Okay? Because I gave you kind of a overview, but the truth is, it's not that, it's simple. It's not easy. Sitting in your own emotions and feelings and thoughts and all this stuff is not easy. It's simple. But that's why it takes repetition. That's why it takes some practice. It really does. Ta and I have 10 years of practice so far. But I will tell you, the first 2 years of our relationship set the foundation. We're very, very grateful that we both have been divorced before. We're very grateful what we've been through in our lives already, because that has allowed us to talk about and create this structure for ourselves. And that's what we're going to start teaching more people. Yes, we teach a lot of these concepts in the Condor approach, but we have not specifically taught how to put them into place in relationships, business relationships, friendships, child, family, friend, whatever. So if anyone has any questions, you can raise your hand or you can unmute yourself, any of the above, or let me know, has this been helpful? Just let me know in the chat, has this been helpful for you? Has it made sense? Do you feel maybe a little bit clearer? Maybe there's another evolution of thought process, we'll say. Nina says yes with an exclamation point. Love that. Anybody else? Big realizations? Thumbs up? Bird flip? I mean, I'll take anything. Super helpful. Yay, Amanda. Love you. So much. We still got, so thanks y'all as well for being patient for last week. We literally woke up and had no internet. So we also couldn't tell anyone that we weren't on because we're in a third world country. So that is the nature of life. And the reminder that really, y'all, the more I travel to countries that are second and third world countries, I let a lot more go of my own complaints. Right, where most people don't have windows or doors. They're living in 3-wall. Maybe they've got 4 walls, but it's not an enclosed space. They're open to elements. They've got 2 families living in a 2-room house. Yes. So every time I travel, I get a new layer of, I guess, not complaining so much about how my life's so hard. My coffee's not hot anymore. Alicia says, it's been helpful. Yay. Awesome, y'all. Well, I will send out. So if you are on the monthly subscription, it's $25 a month. You get all the replays to all these masterclasses. And as we grow, I'm going to add more things to that portal, like these meditations, these visualizations, these little tools you can go pop in and have. For today, for your patients, for everything, I'm going to send all of you the visualization I did today. I'm just going to pop it on like a SoundCloud. So it's only that 5-7 minute visualization. So you can access it anytime. Moving forward, if you go to the masterclassmondays.com, scroll all the way to the bottom, you can join the subscription. Again, you'll be able to see all the classes coming up. You can prioritize being at what ones you'd want to be live or watch replays. And as this evolves and grows, that's where the worksheets or downloads or things like that will live. Or it's $200 for the year. So that gives you a year of access to all that stuff. So if that sounds interesting, go check it out there. Otherwise, these are free to tune in live every Monday. So you can go to Masterclass Mondays to sign up. This will change tonight at midnight. So starting on Tuesdays, you can see the new class. And I will send out an email. When you do the subscription, you don't have to sign up for the class every week. Cool. So that's kind of the benefit of the convenience, is you won't have to sign up. Otherwise, for it to be free, put on your calendar to sign up every Tuesday for the following Monday. That way you'll never miss one and you can just stay free. Yes? All right, y'all. I love you so much. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for being who you are. You can look at, Todd just put up the 2 links, one for the Masterclass Mondays, one for the Condor Approach 1-day relationship. Again, that ticket is for 2 people. You can tune in virtually and you don't have to be with the other person in the same room. We can put you in breakout rooms for when we do the breakout portions. It's an interactive experience. It's going to give you the templates, or if you work with other couples, you may want to come go through this process and incorporate some part of it. This is the work we exactly did with couples one-on-one in psychedelic spaces. Yes. All right, y'all. I love you. Until next Monday, please be sure to share these with a friend. Get them on here, because even if you come to this class, then afterward pop on a call together and discuss it. Because again, you take it a layer deeper. We love you. So bring a friend next week. Share it with 3 friends. Share it with all your friends. These classes will remain free when you tune in live. You can grab that subscription if that works better. Otherwise, I hope to see you December 2nd in Austin, Texas, or virtually. We have 12 tickets for live. We have 12 tickets for virtual. That is it. We're not doing a big event. We want to make sure we have time for everyone showing up. Love y'all. Until next time, be easy, be free, be magical, be whatever you want to be. Okay. Much love. Love y'all. Peace.
Hey fam, so you already know about the Condor Approach, but did you know that every Monday we're doing something called Masterclass Mondays? It's totally free. This is to dive deeper into the parts of the psychedelic experience that nobody talks about. We're going to talk about why breakthroughs don't last, why breakdowns don't end. Every Monday we're going live with one goal in mind: to take big topics and turn them into actionable steps. So whether you're exploring psychedelics for healing or optimization, whether it's for personal growth, or you're just trying to navigate the complexities of being a human, we've got you covered. Go to masterclassmondays with an S.com. It's totally free to sign up, and we'll see you live. Peace.
Integration is not optional.